This is Don Stewart, the artist at ArtistChronicle.com, and today I'm with Erik Strom.
I personally like to have a table with my palette right in front of the easel, so I don't have the tendency to get way up here like this. You've seen old paintings of pictures of Matisse painting. His brush sometimes was 4 feet long, and he's standing, if he's painting there, he's standing way back here painting.
Wow.
And it helps you get away and see the whole painting. Draw everything at once, which means that at any moment you step away from your drawing, it should be, for the most part, at the same level of finished. You don't want to have a completely rendered, perfectly photorealistic hand over here, and it's just floating on an arm that's not really there, attached to a face that's sort of there.
Now, do you use what kind of paint?
This is Casein, which I think my wife was telling you guys a little bit about.
Yeah.
It's a very old paint. It's non-toxic. It's basically rotten milk. It has a really funky smell. You get used to that after a while. And as we've gotten older, we're trying to get away from oils and turpentine and things that are making us a little loopy in the head.
Yeah, that's why I use odorless mineral spirits when I can, and yeah.
And so acrylic is good, but sometimes to me acrylic, no matter how well I'm handling it, it's just feeling so plastic to me and latexy, because that's what it is. And actually latex paint is what killed the public's knowledge of Casein paint. Casein used to rival oil, and then in the 50s and 60s, latex got really big. Very matte. There's not a lot of gloss to it, although you can buff it. Some people like to use cheesecloth. I like it with a lot of texture. I don't like to smooth it out. Charlotte likes very watery stuff. A lot of times I'll start to just put a little color on it, take it off, and just start hitting these dry patterns and kind of beating it up a little. I've never been one to piddle around where I'm just making you can't be afraid to make a mistake. You just have to have no fear and just dive headfirst into some type of a plan, and then have good reaction skills and know when to go with your gut and let your brain shut up, or let your heart have a word, or then the three of them converse. So I always like to confer brain and heart together, and then gut gets final say. A lot of times I'll start with faces. I've been feeling trees lately, and I'm just going to start jumping in here now. Maybe get a bigger brush and be a little bold. Sometimes I even like to paint with this chopstick, which is covered in ink and paint and stuff. And sometimes I'll like scratching, depending on what kind of surface. Starting to pop a little bit more. Now I'm starting to tinker. You're starting to see the tinkering. Yeah. So when you find yourself doing that, it's time to stop for a little while. So this one is finished for now. Now I can wake up tomorrow and see 10 things I'm going to do different. Or I can sign it. Or I could put it in my closet and say it's not going to get put up anywhere. It was just for me. I think you always have to look at it a day or two later to see what you've really done. Sometimes while you're painting, it's too soon to decide if it was a success or a failure. A lot of times people will see a painting like this, which is more of a standard landscape. You know, I was painting outside with oil from observation. That was a lot more of a traditional way to paint. You know, fast forward 8 years, and I'm doing stuff like this. And where these segments are coming, almost looking like stained glass, but not exactly. Where I'm getting into breaking paintings down into abstraction. Well, how could the same person have done this and then went and did that? This was a very simple, I'm going to go outside, the sun is setting, I'm going to do a nice painting of the sunset. And this painting took about 3 or 4 weeks. I was painting roughly the same time of night. But as I progressed, I was painting a little bit from later into the night, and at the beginning of this painting, the trees and the stuff in the foreground that are all very dark now were originally more light browns and the colors of trees. And as I was painting more and more to the sunset, I started silhouetting everything that was foreground, and I was starting to focus more on the vibrant pops of color in the sky that were really negative space in terms of painting. At the same time, I was hanging out with a friend of mine who's a stained glass maker. I didn't realize it at the time, but subconsciously I think a lot of stained glass work was starting to seep into my brain. This would be the metal, this would be the glass, this would be the glass, this would be the glass. And more of my landscapes started breaking down even more and more into that, I did a painting that this is a magnet of, and you'll forgive the fact that it's a small reproduction. But as you can see, I went into complete crazy. All the trees became silhouetted black, and then all the colors were negative space. For 6 to 8 months, I was just slowly layering. I put everything finally where it was, and then I would just come in and put all the reds back again that were already there, another coat of red, and then another coat of purple, another coat of yellow, and then I'd go back and I'd do the darks of the trees all over again. And I started getting into this weird segment where it's not really an abstract painting, but it became an abstract painting. And then I slowly started getting into where instead of just segmenting, I started breaking it with real shapes and circles. I started studying a lot about spiral mapping, sacred geometry with the golden rectangle, and I started just getting a ruler and breaking shapes of recognizable images. And that's how this slowly over the years became these more obviously abstracted paintings.
Is this something that you came up with on your own, or is it something you were influenced? What are some of your influences?
As far as subject matter, a lot of these are based off of mythology, history. I'm a big history buff. Any type of mythology or realistic history, I'm a big fan of. And just as far as influences, just marrying traditional art with more contemporary art. I like to use shapes and break up color and pattern is really what I'm interested in an artist. Whether it's something like Joan of Arc here, where it's really abstractly breaking up shapes, or even something like this, there's still pattern involved. The biggest misconception I get is people come in and look at this and go, oh, this is Cubism. And I go, no, it's not. It's not anywhere near Cubism. Cubism, you know, they were trying to take everything, the back, and show it all. You know, they were showing you all these different dimensions. I'm really more about pattern making and dissecting pattern and finding focus through confusion, focusing through intense chaos, and trying to simplify through chaos. And this is actually called Calm Through Chaos, because I'm trying to get people to calm down a little. And even though there's a lot going on, if you just look at the eye contact with the painting, it's much easier to focus on and see what's going on in the painting. Society today is everything at once, all on top of you, everything being thrown at you all the time. And what I'm trying to do with some of these paintings is put that in there, but also simplify and go, don't forget to make eye contact with other human beings. This is a painting called Loki, which is based on Norse mythology. I love ancient things, but I love representing them in ways that are a lot more modern. On the outside, I kept it very dark and contained, and all the crazy is going on within him because he was known for his trickery and his shape-shifting. And so I like to play with, well, who is a character? A portrait isn't something that just looks like someone. How do you get that element of who they are into the actual technique of how you're painting? And I like to use sometimes just freehand like this one. On some of these other ones, I'll use circles of templates. In the beginning, I would draw a person or a shape and then dissect them with the circles or the rulers. But now when I do it, I start with a blank canvas and I start putting circles and shapes down, and then with the marks that I'm making, it tells me, oh, that's a jaw, that's a neck, I think there's a face here, I think it's a woman, maybe this time it'll be a man. As I've gotten older, I've relinquished more, or I've relinquished control to let the painting kind of say, hey, I think I want to be this today. Once you put that one stroke on the canvas is some type of, it has a say in its own being. And you don't want to fight that too much. You want to let it tell you or communicate with you who it is. And it's a little of what you say, but it's also a little of what you're suddenly experiencing. And it's also, sometimes you feel like it's not necessarily you putting the marks down, it's coming through you. And so if you try to understand too much while you're painting, you might get distracted. But if you try to just get lost and say, I'll figure out what this means later, I'll finish it when I think it's finished, and then maybe it'll be a year or 2 or 3 years later, and I'll go, oh, that's what maybe I was trying to get out of my system. Something needed to get out of me, or something needed to get into me, and this painting helped me find that.